Hello guys! Today I'm going to show you how to solve for the perimeter and area of this octagon that you see right over here. Alrighty, let's begin. You know already what's the measure of every angle in an octagon, right? As you can see though, this is particularly a regular octagon. So you already know in a regular octagon, every angle must measure 135 degrees. And that is deliberately confirmed. Okay? So, and of course, if you watched through my previous word problems regarding about this, you already know that every angle here is 135 degrees. That's why if you look at all the reflex angles that we got, they're all 225. Most of them, alright? So now let's go to perimeter. For the perimeter of this regular octagon, it's very easy. You already know what to do. Get the measure of one side, then multiply that by the number of sides that you see there. And since an octagon has 8 sides, so therefore it's 25 times 8. So therefore, we now know that the perimeter is 25 times 8, which gives you 25 times 8 equals 200 mm. Okay? So that is the perimeter of the octagon. Very easy. The hard part is the area. To solve for the area of the octagon, here's what you do. By the way, there are two formulas that you can apply. You can either apply the Pythagorean theorem or you can play the game called 1/2 times the apothem times the perimeter. Kaya lang, we do not know what the apothem is. We do not know where can we get the apothem exactly. Kasi po yung apothem ay nandito siya eh. Dito siya sa pinakagitnaan. Tapos you have to draw the triangle here. You have to draw the sector. And that's where you get the apothem. Kaya lang if I were to draw that, we cannot tell which type of triangle is it. But I know kung mag-draw tayo ganyan, both of those triangles must be congruent. The angles must be congruent. So we know this is 135 degrees. So therefore, 135 divided by 2 is equivalent to, check ko lang with the calculator. Or sulat ko na lang dito. We should get 67.5 degrees. So that is the measure of the angle here and here. 67.5 degrees ay yung measure ng angle nito at ito. 67.5. Kaya hindi siya sapat. And then 67.5 plus 67.5, therefore, we should get 135. And then the remnant angle right that you see right here must be 45 degrees. So dito ang 45 degrees. 45 degree angle. Okay? Kaya lang we want to form the right triangle here. Kung mag-Pythagorean theorem pa tayo dito, we got no choice but to play the game of sine and cosine. So we need to get the cosine of that angle. Diba remember dito, kung ito yung 67.5 degrees, tapos kung ito yung height, this is 90, diba? So 90 plus 67.5 equals yan, 157.5. So, minus this one, we should get to 22.5. So, therefore, the angle here must measure 22.5. So, that's when we need to play the sine and cosine. That's when cosines and sines are very crucial. But for me, since we don't like to play the sine and cosine, although if you had learned this will make the solve for the area of the regular octagon really easier. Furthermore, we can already get na the apothem. Kaya naman, Jolie, since we can't do that yet, that's why we got no choice but to try another formula. And here's the formula that I tried. So the formula that I implied here is this. Look, diba remember I part this into a right triangle. So we know that this entire thing is 135 degrees. And since I draw a right angle here, you know that this one here, diba, this is a right angle, diba? So this entire thing here is 145. We know from here to here is only 90. So the remnant angle here must measure 45 degrees. So this is the 45 degree angle. Okay? And what do you notice? Do you know what triangle have you formed? Yup. It's a 45, 45, 90 degree triangle, right? So 45, 45, 90. So therefore, there's a special type of triangle when it comes to 45, 45, and 90 degrees. in short, we call that a right isosceles triangle. So if I were to take that part, we can play the game of Pythagorean theorem. But remember, the 25 millimeters pertains to the measure of one side of the regular octagon, which is here. So therefore, this is your 25 millimeters. Okay? Now, we need to get the measure of the two legs. And you know already the relationship of the right isosceles triangle. The hypotenuse always measures x times the square root of 2. Bakit ganon yun? Kung nag-Pythagorean theorem tayo, di ba remember we have x and x? You know the Pythagorean theorem, x squared plus x squared equals c squared. So if I were to write it down, ganito yun. X squared plus x squared equals the hypotenuse squared, di ba? Combining like terms, we should get 2x squared equals h squared. Divide both sides by 2, we should get x squared is h squared divided by 2. Then take the square root, so yun. So x is equivalent to the hypotenuse squared over 2. Okay? So you need to square your hypotenuse and then divide by 2 and then take the square root of everything. And that's how you get the value of x. Alright? So yun na yung game na dapat gagawin namin. Ito po yung formula. Okay? Now going back to our formula. So as you can see, we need to remember this thing here measures 25 millimeters. So 25 millimeters ito. So we need to get the measure of the two. So applying our formula, we should square the hypotenuse and then divide by 2. So let's work this out in a calculator para mas mabilis. You know the square of 25 squared is 625. And 625 divided by 2, ganito yun. 625 divided by 2. We should get 31. So tama. 312.5. Now we take the square root of that number. We take the square root of that value and what answer did we get? Let's work it out in the calculator para mas mabilis, okay? So here's the calculator. Let's take the square root of 312.5. Aya! So yun yung sagot. 17.67 something. So therefore, that must be the measure of the, So that must be the measure of the two legs of the triangle. Of that triangle that you see here. That should be 17.67 millimeters. Yan. Or 6.868 in short. If you want to use the irrational, pwede pa rin yun. Here, what you call this, if it's too much, we can just, if you want to have a continuous accuracy, you can just leave it that way. That way na lang. Pero if you don't want so much decimals, that you want it super accurate talaga, ang gagawin mo na lang, I just say 300 square root of 312.5. So yun po. Okay? If I were to check using the ruler, yes, malapit na siya sa 18 millimeters. So therefore, tama. So therefore, the length of that triangle must be 17.67 or 17.68. Malapit na siya, oh. So yun po. But take note, whatever you do on this side, it also works on the other side. So therefore, this is congruent. So to solve for the perimeter of this octagon, we can do it this way. Wait lang, ha. So therefore, to get the area of the regular octagon, you should get this one. First, we get the area of the rectangle here that you see on the center. And then the area of one trapezoid, and then you don't need to divide it by 2. Because those two trapezoids are already congruent. And then you sum it up together. So let's start off with the trapezoid muna para mas mabilis. Okay? So we know that the long base plus the short base 10 times the height. We know that this base is 25 millimeters. But the long base, you need to add it with 2, 17.68. So 17.68 times 2. Which gives you, ano yun? Parang just like 34. Then 34, then 68. So tama, that's 35.36. Tama ba? So tama, we should get that answer of 35.36. Okay? And then we add it by 25. Remember, that's the measure of the short base, diba? Now we need to also add the 25, which pertains to the long one. So therefore, we have 60.36. So that must be the measure of the long base. So the long base should measure 60.36 mm. Okay? Now let's solve. So to solve for the area, you already know it's short base plus the long base. So we know if we sum this up together, we should get 85.36. Then 85.36 times the height, which is 17.68. So 85.36 times 17.68. This might take a long time to solve it by hand. Para mas mabilis, gagamitin ko yung calculator. Okay, nala mo yung 35.36. Kapag inad ko by 25, tama, we should get 60.36. Then when we sum this up with the two bases, we should get 85.36. And then you multiply that by your height, which is 17.68. So tama, this should be your answer. 1,509.1648 square millimeters. So that is your answer. 1,509.1648. Okay? And you don't need to divide by 2 anymore because both of these trapezoids are congruent na. Now all you need to do is to just keep that answer, leave that answer, and then we add it with the area of the square with the rectangle pala. Okay? And it's very easy. It's just 60.36, which is the measure here, times the height, which is 25 millimeters. Diba? This is also 25 millimeters because it's a regular octagon. So you must multiply that. Okay? So let's write our answer down. So our answer here is 1,509.1648. Last, we need to get the area of the square of the rectangle, which is 60.36 times 17 times 25. We should get, ano yung sagot? Yan, 1,509. Wow, we still got the same, 1,519. Add this up all together, we should get 18. So tama. 3,018.1648. That is the area. So the area is 3,018.1648 mm squared. Yun lang. Now, if you were to convert that to centimeter squared, you will have to multiply that thing, convert it by multiplying that by, dividing it by, ano yun? 100. So therefore, based on your answer, divide mo by 100, or in short, you move the decimal place 2 points to the left. So therefore, your answer would be 30.181648 cm squared. So yun po, that's the answer. Okay?